It doesn't even know how much they're even going to get for them. But they're happy to pay $100 million or perhaps even more in fees to foreign advisors and lawyers and accountants who are helping to sell them. Well, I can think of a whole lot more or a whole lot better things to do with $100 million than that. I'm thinking about getting more sick kids to the doctor. I'm thinking about putting new technology and extra teachers in our schools. I'm thinking about more science investment to tackle our agricultural carbon emissions. $100 million spent for advice on selling assets we shouldn't sell. That's not a plan, Mr. Speaker. That is simply not a plan. And how much is New Zealand going to get for these assets when we do sell them? Well, the government says the assets are somewhere in the region of $5 to $7 billion. That's a $2 billion difference. That's a lot of money. That could buy the rail link in Auckland, Mr. Joyce. That's right. You could pay for the difference by buying us a rail link. But it might be chump change for the National Party, but it represents what they are happy to risk at the bottom, selling our assets at the bottom of a market. We're in, just to remind you, one of the most unstable economic environments since the Great Depression. None of us have lived in more testing times than these. The economic forecast is dire, and in the midst of that, we want to sell our assets off. Would anybody here want to sell their house at the bottom of the market when they don't have to? Of course not. Before the election, they said they would delay the asset sales if the conditions weren't right. But the day after the ministers were signed in, they announced that Mighty River was on the block. The day after. The global conditions are now worse than they were before, but we're plunging ahead. Selling Mighty River, Mr. Speaker, won't create a cleaner, greener New Zealand. It won't help families and communities. It won't help to make us a more inclusive New Zealand. And that's why Labour will lead a campaign up and down this country against the sale of our assets. It's just ideology. It's just ideology, Mr. Speaker. It's not going to change New Zealand or make it a better place. This is no vision, and it's no vision to help the 157,000 people that are out of work at the moment, who could be in productive employment and paying taxes. They could be paying taxes and playing a real part in their own communities, but they don't have the opportunity. This government has no vision. On the Treasury's own figures, more people will be out of work in 2014 than when National took office. That's a searing indictment. 6 years on and unemployment will be up, not down. More people on the dole, not fewer. I'd like to make this clear pledge, Mr. Speaker. If officials ever presented me with a set of projections that showed unemployment worse in 6 years, I'd change my policies. I'd change my policies. 6 years and it gets worse, Mr. Speaker. That is failure, and that's what failure looks like. And that's a testament to a lack of ideas and the lack of a plan. I want to remind this House, Mr. Speaker, of some profound words I heard here recently about why we are in Parliament. And I quote, "Once in office, you've got to do something. That's why having a plan matters." It's very sage advice. And it came from that side of the House. It came from Simon Power as he signed off from here. Those words are, and they were, words of warning to this government. It's wrong just to drift. It's wrong just to drift as this country is doing at the moment under this government. It's wrong to think you can take New Zealand forward without a vision for the New Zealand you are trying to create. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the opposition has no confidence in the program the government has outlined, and that's why I move an amendment as follows: that the following words be added to the motion, quote, "And the National-led government will sell New Zealand's assets against the will of the public." The government has no ideas to create jobs or a clean and innovative New Zealand. The government is widening the gap between the very rich and the rest, and therefore this House has no confidence in the National-led government. Mr. Speaker, the National-led government used to talk about its aspirations for New Zealand, but those aspirations are now frail and feeble, and I don't actually get to hear them much more anymore. Now what they aspire to is a low-wage New Zealand where opportunity goes to just a few. They used to say that our best and brightest would no longer need to leave New Zealand, but people are leaving faster today than ever before. They used to talk about a step change, but we've had a step back, and that's been recognised because we've just been downgraded. We have never owed more as a country in our history, and we've never had a government ready to do less and create less than ever before. We must change. We must change. Labor, as I said before, will listen to good ideas. We will get behind policies that are right for New Zealand no matter who puts them forward. We will be constructive, but we will oppose with all our energy those policies that will undermine a clean, clever future that weakens our families and our communities. We're all about to go on holiday, and I sincerely wish you all the very best. Personally, I'll be spending much of that time hooking up with people in pubs and the clubs and the camping grounds around the country. But I'm planning a few days to head north to a beach that's very special to us for some fishing and some surfing. And sitting on a board waiting for that perfect wave to come, or probably in my case missing that perfect wave when it does come, looking down into that clear water or back to those white beaches, Mr. Speaker, it's magic. It's magic. And I believe that there are places in New Zealand that everybody feels the same attachment to. We can all think of places that are special for us. But, Mr. Speaker, beautiful places aren't enough to hold our young people here. They're not enough to bring our talented people to come and live here. Yes, they'll visit, but they won't stay. They need reward for hard work and creativity. Imagine a New Zealand that is not only green and unspoiled, but is home to creative ideas and world-leading technologies. Imagine a New Zealand known all over the world for smart thinking and really smart businesses taking the world by storm. Imagine a New Zealand that is compassionate towards those who need a hand up, that is independent, that makes up its own mind on global issues according to its values. That's the country that I want to live in. That's the country I'd love to lead as the head of a Labour government. That's why we need change, Mr. Speaker. That's why we need to turn a new page. And, Mr. Speaker, that's the change that the Labour Party stands for. Thank you.
The question is that the amendment be agreed to. The Right Honourable Prime Minister.